Good evening and welcome to Thursday Night Live. It's the summer vacation edition. I'm out on the road. I just had an amazing 9 days out west. We got to go out to see Zion National Park. I got to see Bryce Canyon. Went over to Vegas, renewed my vows with my wife with the king of rock and roll himself, Elvis Presley. Amazing experience. And then I got to go hang out in Colorado a little bit, back with family in Dayton, Ohio. So we're going to kind of keep tonight short. But we had some questions come in, and we had people asking last week where we were, so we thought I better go live this week, at least for a little bit. So I'm doing a solo show tonight. If you have any questions, pop them into the chat. I will try to keep an eye on that, but I'm also going to be working on the software over on this end. And so if I don't get your question answered tonight live, I'll type in an answer for it. But be sure to drop those down. It's always fun when we have a little bit of chit chat throughout the evening. So let's start off with a first question that came in from Psalm. And he asked, which is better, the head or the chest voice? And so this is a great question, Psalm. They're both important. You can't have one without the other. So I want to relate this to bodybuilding. Have you ever seen like a bodybuilder who has huge pectoral muscles? Their chest is really strong, but their shoulders are hunched over like this. If you've seen that before, what you are visualizing, what you're seeing in front of you is somebody who has only strengthened one part of their body, but not the antagonistic muscle. See, we have these muscles that help pull the shoulders forward, but then we have muscles in the back that pull them back. And ideally, you want this to lay in kind of that limbo middle ground so that the front can take over when needed or the back can take over when needed. Well, with your vocal folds, you have the chest dominant sounds, which bring the vocal folds firmly together and help thicken the vocal folds. And that gives us power. That gives us ring inside of the voice. It gives us grit and edge. And then we have to also learn how to relax those muscles that are pushing the folds together and to let go of that thyroarytenoid muscle to get into that breathy quality that we often. And so you can't really succeed by focusing on one and ignoring the other. Now, a lot of times a singer will come to us and they'll have an imbalance. So, a typical client to me with an imbalance has been singing in a rock band on their own, or they've been belting, doing a bunch of touring productions. And over the course of time, they're only focusing on their show or on their set list. And because in today, it's, 90% of the time, people in musical theater, contemporary music theater, and, commercial music, they're in a chest dominant mix of some sort. They focus on that chest dominant mix and ignore their head voice. And I can tell you from experience, 90, maybe 95% of the time that I ask one of these clients who comes to me, how often do you warm up in your head voice? The answer is never. Say, how much do you practice in your head voice and bringing it down? Never. And it's sometimes even people who know better. As I had one person come to me as a lead in a national tour, and as soon as I asked that question, she says to me, she said, I kind of figured that's what you were going to say. And I was like, because it's true. It makes a difference. And we got her back into a head voice routine, and she got back the high notes that she was missing, and she nailed the rest of the tour. So, I mean, there really is, a need to balance them both. Now, I started talking about this because if you are like one of those singers that comes to me, we're actually going to put you on a diet of head voice, and we're going to leave the chest register alone. Because if chest register is already developed and you're overdeveloping it, we don't need to do any work on that. We need to focus on the head voice. Because then as we get the head voice working, what we're doing is we're teaching all the muscles in your throat how to relax. We're teaching that thyroarytenoid muscle to let go. And then we're bringing your head voice down through the middle and into the bottom. And that's going to start giving you some of your high notes back. Now, let's say that you were with a teacher. There are some classical teachers out there who talk about bringing the head down. So you want to bring top down to develop a voice. And if somebody is, shouting like I just talked about, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But I've seen other teachers who take a singer who doesn't even have a chest voice and tell them that they'll find their chest by bringing the head down. And that's just not how it works. See, that head register is, again, about relaxing the lateral cricoarytenoid muscle, the interarytenoid muscles. It's letting the posterior cricoarytenoid muscle get into the picture. It's letting the TA relax while the CT is stretching. None of that is what happens in chest voice, where all those muscles basically contract and the CT has to kind of pull against it. So, if you are somebody who comes to me with a weak voice, I'm going to go down and train those vocal folds how to close by using chest register only. But those are the only times I'm going to favor one over the other. Otherwise, what I'm going to be doing is teaching you how to mix, how to bring that head voice down. how to bring that squeaky voice up, ah, and then how to get on any note in the middle and go in between qualities. Ah, or reverse. Ah, ah. That process of going from breathy to full and full to breathy is coordinating all those muscles in your throat. And as they get better coordinated, most of your problems are going to go away. Right? When singers come to me and they're having problems straining to hit notes, their voice is getting fatigued. Sometimes it's something that they're doing wrong in their vocal tract, but so many times it's actually their vocal folds are just in some weird imbalance. And if we get them using both head and chest and weaving through the middle, which we've talked about on earlier episodes, Psalm. So go ahead and go back and dig through the archives to look at us talking about mix and weaving through the middle. But when we do that, weaving through the middle work, that's really where the magic is. And then it's up to you, Psalm, to decide, do I want to bring more head into this note for a breathy, intimate quality, or do I want to bring more full voice into this note for more of like a chesty, earthy quality? And that's all up to you. All right. So thanks for writing in. Doesn't answer the question, shoot us another email. We'll follow up with you. So now this is a good question from Simbi, who asks, do you have to be a natural born singer to know how to sing, or just have to learn? So this natural born singer thing is a bit of a myth, right? So we are all born naturally to sing, okay? So when you're born, you start off with what they call infant-directed speech. So the parents are talking to you with coos and inflection in their voice, and your brain, we have research that shows that your brain as an infant was started to pick up those speech patterns. And then we move through phases in infant-directed speech where the baby starts reacting to or and the baby starts realizing that means something cute, and there's smiles involved. And is a no, and that's usually said when the baby's crawling around the floor and tries to grab something they're supposed to. So the next, that those two vocal qualities are linked to different emotions. The light one to happy emotions, happy smiling, and the chest voice, or that darker voice, is more abrupt, controlling things. And so as you continue to grow, you'll use those voices in natural play, and you'll start to sing, right? I see kids singing all the time on playgrounds. It's just such an awesome, amazing thing. And they're not judging what they're doing. The problem occurs when we get into school and people start making comments about somebody having a pretty voice or a loud voice or a nasally voice. And all of a sudden the student gets a complex about their voice and they start to stifle it. Or if they're told it's pretty, they get afraid to sing ugly songs because they've been told their voice is so pretty. And this is actually where we do a huge disservice to singers, because if you look back at indigenous cultures, most of them did not have music schools. That was the European continent's idea, was this music school, music training. And all other cultures, you learned music, and even probably originally in a lot of European cultures before the Catholic Church codified stuff. We'll get to that in a minute. But in these indigenous cultures, you would come together around the fire at night because you had nothing else to do. You'd look at the stars, you would sing, you would dance, you would drum. That's how you learned how to sing. And that is what we do mean that, yeah, you are a natural singer. But the problem is, if someone took that away by judging your voice, you shut down, and now you have to relearn how to reclaim your unique sound. And that's why we say you have to learn how to sing again, right? It's not that you didn't know how to sing. You just need help finding yourself again. You need a guide who's going to walk you through the process and help you figure out what we call cognitive distortions, those moments where you're believing the lies that your brain is telling you, and help you reframe those cognitive distortions into action or steps that we can take actions towards to actually help you achieve the goals that you're seeking. So let's go back and summarize it. I know it's dropping a lot of things in there, but I like to be mythbusters on this Thursday Night Live show. There's just so many myths out there that just aren't true. And I feel like if we can give you some of the facts, you can take that information, go do some of your own research, try it for yourself, and then take your journey a step further. So Simbi, you were born to sing. That's a matter of fact. It started in infant-directed speech. It developed in childhood. And if you quit singing for some reason, or somebody told you something about your voice, that's the roadblock. All right? Some people come up through families where they were never given anything corrective in a way that bothered them. And our personalities are all different. You have some people that you can give them, criticism, and they don't care, and they just take it and they work with it. So yeah, you're going to see some of those people go all the way up through 18, 19, 20. They sound incredible. That's just the environment. All right. That was nurture, not nature. You both started with the same nature, the human instinct to sing, to vocalize, to express yourself. So, Simbi, all you need to do if you feel like you're not using that natural voice is to find an evidence based voice teacher who can help you really zone in on what your artistic purpose is and help you merge the storytelling with the singing by giving you exercises that target the ability to make different sounds while bringing you storytelling tools that help you bring the stories to life. And that's something anybody can learn. The key is you got to learn it in music that speaks to you and matches your voice. You hear this deep voice. If I want to go be a teen pop star right now, not going to happen. Don't have that kind of voice. Never did. So if I keep trying to push that and say, hey, that's what I want to be, it's not going to work out. Now, if I want to sing like folk music, like folk Americana or folk rock music or country music, my voice fits that. All right. It's not a highly processed sound, and people my age tend to sing some of that stuff. So I fit right in. I can go pick that up and start doing that pretty easily because that's very close to who I am. Now, if I want to go back into a death metal band, it's going to be a little harder, right? I used to play that music and I love that music, but at my age, that's not really my persona. So I'm going to have to really fight hard. And that's where this next thing I want you to hold on to comes into play. When you resist what is, suffering begins. And so if I resist the fact that I have, this voice, this persona, this body, and I keep trying to be something I'm not, a death metal singer, a pop singer, doing some kind of, I don't know, hip hop or rap, something I'm clearly not appropriate for. I'm going to have a lot of suffering because I'm not going to get the results that I want. I'm not going to have people praising me because it's not going to sound good. So that's going to be frustrating to me. And then I can start to spiral down into a negative track. But if I accept what is, the success begins. And if I accept that, hey, this is where I am, folk rock music and country music, that stuff, if I want to perform, I should take and remake songs on the piano because that's my favorite instrument to play. I play guitar, drums, some other things too, but piano is my favorite. If I stay true to who I am and my favorite way to make music, I'm probably going to come up with some really good stuff. And by accepting what is, I can find success. Okay. So Simbi, embrace the fact that you were born a singer, that something may have happened along the way, and we just need to get that open back. We need to get your soul feeling free to express yourself again. We need to pull that back into all of this. And then what we need to look into is realizing that you don't want to resist what is, because that's just going to bring suffering. You want to accept what is, which is what's going to bring success. So hopefully that will help. And if not, send us a question with follow-up. Happy to talk. I see a couple questions here. I want to go ahead and pop these up. Belters dance and move on stage. How belters should sing and dance simultaneously without damaging their voices? This is a great question, Metropoli. I hope I'm saying that correctly. So let's start with the first part of the whole process, which is with the voice training. What you want to do, first of all, is accept that your body as a dancer is very different than a body of an opera singer. So anything that you've ever heard from more of a classical voice teacher or a choral voice teacher is probably not going to work for you. And I'm going to now explain the science of why that is. When we are moving, your respiratory number of respirations per minute increases. So your rib cage starts moving in and out more and more. But at the same time, as a dancer, you have to keep your body aligned, which means you have to tense your abdominal wall. And you can't dance unless you do that for a lot of the things that you need to do. Now, an opera singer can stand there and learn how to balance their body on their spine and drop their abdominal wall out and focus on those slower, longer breaths for those long phrases. But when you're dancing, you can't do that. It's just not an option for you. So what we have to do is focus on training your motor system to engage the muscles inside the rib cage that are called the intercostal muscles. Now, the external intercostal muscles start in the bottom edge of each rib and it inserts into the top edge or the top edge of the rib below. And when that muscle contracts, it pulls upward on the rib below, pulling it towards the upper rib, and that's what lifts your rib cage up. So I'm going to stand here, put your fingers right here, and you're going to find in between one of these ribs and then breathe. If you saw everything just lifted up, that's those external intercostal muscles engaging. So what I want you to do is breathe in and engage those external intercostal muscles and just hiss. And you're going to try to keep this out as long as you can. Now, As you release air, the lungs are going to deflate, which means your rib cage is going to collapse inwards. So we don't want to try to engage these muscles to the point our body is stiff. Rather, we just want to engage them enough to make sure that our rib cage doesn't immediately collapse. Because with dancers, that's often what happens. The muscles that connect the pubic bone to the rib cage are contracting as part of your dance, and they pull in on your rib cage and pull it down. So that's why we're going to start by retraining your body to really understand that the ribs stay out when I'm breathing. Okay. Although with a lot of the training I do, if you haven't watched the show before, I take what you're fighting against, I introduce the opposite behavior, and then I neutralize and find the middle. Okay. So in general, identify where we are, identify the opposite, learn the opposite, and then merge in the middle until you find what works for you. So you're going to do these inhales, engaging those external intercostal muscles, and you're going to hiss, and you're going to sustain the hiss as long as possible. So out, and just let the rib cage come back in on itself. Okay. Start that with pitches, and then moving pitches, and then you're going to want to practice that in your song, whatever you have to sing when you dance, and that's going to retrain your brain so that it's thinking about rib cage only, and relieving your abdominal wall out of it. Because most of the time when you're singing and dancing, we're not trying to do long phrases. We're not trying to do anything lyrical. We just need air in your lungs. We don't have to do any fancy control over it. So we're just going to get there first. The next step comes when you're learning the choreography. When you're learning the choreography of what it is that you're, dancing at the same time, I want you to start thinking about where you breathe so that your inhalation is part of learning your choreography. This is a simple trick that will transform a lot of what you're doing. And I want you to actually do this before you even sing. So if the number starts and it's got a 1.5-minute dance routine, when you're learning that 1.5-minute dance routine, if you're, stepping on, reaching on 8, and that opens up your rib cage, I want you to step, reach, inhale on 8, right? So that just becomes part of the move. Inhale. And then if you're turning back around and then you have something 2, and you're in a pose for 2 where you can breathe in, and then go into the next thing. By focusing in that choreography moment on when to breathe, again, you're programming your body for success. All this is about getting your body to function automatically so you can stop thinking about it. Then, when the rehearsal comes together, we're now going to have the skill of keeping ribcage expansion with the skill of knowing when to breathe in between the moves in your choreography. And you should start to notice that things come a lot easier. Then what you're going to do is go home and practice that choreography. First, just practicing the dance with the breaths in there without the music. Then try to put the dance with the breaths in there with the song. Then try to do the dance with the breaths in there and then add the singing to it. And if you keep working this way, you should see some drastic improvements. And then from there, it starts to be little tips and tricks based off of each song. I hope that helps. If you have any follow-up questions, just shoot us a message. Happy to help. I have another question here from Tiffany. Hey, Tiffany. What is going on at the vocal fold level when I sing in my head voice and glide down to my chest voice, but still maintain the light, airy quality of my head voice? The pitch lowers, but the quality sounds the same. It's if I'm singing low notes. So I'm going to go on that. So what it sounds like to me that you're doing, Tiffany, is you're delaying contraction of the lateral cricoarytenoid muscle, interarytenoid muscle, and the thyroarytenoid muscle. If we're going down in a speech-like quality, we're trying to bridge that gap, that when we get in that middle, those vocal folds start to contract a little bit more using the thyroarytenoid muscle that's inside of them. That lateral cricoarytenoid muscle is starting to firm up the closure at the midline, and so is the interarytenoid muscle. But when you come down with the breathy quality, you're not letting those 3 muscles engage in the way that they normally would as you would descend into a speech-like mix. Instead, you're using what's called the posterior cricoarytenoid muscle on the back of your larynx to just kind of hold everything in that equilibrium to deliver that light, breathy voice. And so that's what you're doing. You're just not adducting the folds, and you're just letting the CT come, let go a little bit so the vocal folds get shorter, which is what takes you down, and you can get that low pitch. So that that's delaying the closure of the folds, and then bringing the fold closure in. You could hear why I'm doing that LPA and TA to start to bring those vocal folds together. And that's why we do, that's not something natural that people do. That's a learned skill, which is why I'm always talking about doing those blending exercises. That messa di voce, going from breathy to full and full to breathy, because this isn't an innate skill for most people and it has to be learned. You want to take and do those exercises to develop the athletic coordination that you're looking for. So I hope that answers your question. If you have any follow-ups, pop them in the chat. But yeah, basically not engaging the adductors or and allowing the abduction muscles to take over will bring that light quality all the way down to the beginning. Let me see. There actually looks like you may have had more. I'm seeing singing low notes in my head voice quality. You're right. That's what you're doing. You're singing low notes in your head voice quality when that happens. And so, good. Sorry about that. On my system here, I just noticed it was not giving me your full question from the chat. So sorry about that, stumbling through that. But yes, that's definitely what it is. All right, we've got time for maybe one more question this evening, and I think I'm going to go with Aziz. I like Aziz's question. What is your advice for a beginning singer? So the first biggest piece of advice is to accept what is, because that's where the success begins. Okay. So if you're just catching this answer now, go back and look in when I was talking a little bit earlier about this idea that Simbi had asked about being a natural born singer. I want you, first of all, Aziz, is just to listen to where your voice is now and accept that this is my voice in this moment. It might change, it might evolve, it might not. I can't do anything about the raw quality of my voice except find the music it works for. And what I want you to do is listen to a bunch of different artists on Spotify. Maybe even just pick some random playlists of artists you don't even know and listen to all the vocal qualities you're going to get. Right? Some people I would recommend is go listen to somebody like Hozier or Hozier. He's got a great voice and, very much fits his style, but it's definitely different than what Ed Sheeran's got. And it's definitely different than what somebody like Michael Jackson had. And then I think of people like Rufus Wainwright. He's got a really interesting vibrato, but I mean, huge successful career. So you wouldn't want to train that away from him. Think like somebody like Tom Waits, who uses every vocal quality available to them to create incredible songs and styles that are kind of hard to define. Then I think about somebody like Bobby McFerrin, who uses his voice to paint all kinds of colors and create these soundscapes in his circle singing work that he does. I think about belters like Whitney Houston, who defy the odds and carry their chest into the stratosphere in ways that just blow us all away. And I think about Adele, whose storytelling demands that heavy chest voice, and that's what leads the way there. And then I think of somebody like Celine Dion, who really changed things with her new pop belt approach when she really became famous, and she's kept it up singing that way to this day. Those are all different voices. So my advice for a beginning singer is to look at all those other voices and realize they're all different, they're all unique, and they all found an audience. And I want you to focus on finding your own unique voice and then focus on finding an audience. Now, a lot of times people think that you got to get everyone to like you. So I'm not sure where you're writing in from, Aziz. I'm going to use the United States as an example for this, that there's around 350 million people in this country. And, singers, when they're getting started, think they got to please everyone. Well, I don't know of any artist who has 350 million fans. There are people in this country who probably hate and dislike every artist that there is today. But it doesn't matter, because all you need to be successful is 1% of Americans to listen to your music. That's 3.5 million people. So you don't even really need that. You don't even need 1% of people to like your music. You can probably cut that to 0.5%, and you're still at 1.75 million, right? So you need to, when you go in and start performing, don't worry about getting everyone to like you. Worry about staying true to yourself, to putting your story out there, letting your voice communicate your message, and then finding out which people like it. Find your people. As you find your people, build a social media presence, get to know them, and if they're artists, they're singers, go support them. And as you go out and get into the community, you're going to really start to figure out, again, where you belong, where you fit in, and then you'll start to find people to make music with. Because the next big stage of learning as a beginning singer is just going out and making music with real people. I can teach you a lot in one of my online courses. I can teach you a lot in voice lessons, but I can't make up for the experience of actually being at somebody's house, pulling out drums, guitars, and singing together and just making music just because. So that's an amazing thing that we get to do together as people. And you want to go out and try to take advantage of. Now, along the way, what's going to happen is you're going to start to realize that there are things you can't do. So it might be that you're like, hey, I can't ever sing these songs, these high songs with high notes that I really want to. Or it may be that my voice can't sustain these long phrases, or I feel like there's a weird sound that I don't like, and it's unique, but I just don't want that, and I don't like that. Well, when that happens, what that is telling you is you have reached a roadblock where you could use a guide to help you navigate the path. Right? I was just out hiking up in the Bryce Canyon area, and we went off the road beaten path. So drove down a dirt road. There's no one else on the trail except us, and it was a lot of fun. I love doing that. But there's a couple of moments where I'm like, well, which way do I go? And I had to sort it out. And one time I took the wrong route. Now, if I wanted to get through that thing seamlessly, I can figure it out on my own. And eventually we did, but I didn't find out how to get to the one place I needed to or wanted to go to. And I'm not sure I saw everything that was on that path to see. If I wanted to make sure that that happened, I needed to find a guide, somebody who could say, yeah, this is that deceptive turn that's over there, and everybody thinks that's what it is. It's only because there's a lookout point for photos. So follow that, do the lookout, but then you do want to go up that other pathway. And then the one that looks like it's nothing is the actual path. It just gets washed out by rain. That's the one you want to go up to. Right? That's the stuff that only somebody who's been through it before knows, and only somebody who's been there before can help you overcome. So you, in that moment, when you start hitting those roadblocks and you know exactly what it is you need help with, is when you want to start seeking out the help of a professional coach or a teacher. Okay. And don't let the words teacher and coach scare you off. Look, all of the people who do this work are singers themselves. They've been in your shoes before, and they're only here to help. Right. That's why I prefer to use the term guide. I may not teach. I'm going to, I guess by the traditional definition, teach you a lot, but I'm not doing it as, hi, I'm the teacher and you're the student. I'm doing it as a guide. It's like, hey, I figured that out. Let me show you, because it's actually pretty easy. And that's the kind of work that you're going to get in some one-on-one lessons. Now, if you need help finding somebody, go ahead and reach out to us, and we can help pair you up and get you even a free trial lesson. If you want to get to know a teacher, we have some to do some 15-minute sessions so you can, pick their brain and make some sounds and see what a voice lesson might even feel like. And I know it can seem expensive, but it's an investment that's worthwhile. You're not taking lessons the rest of your life. You might take lessons for 6 months and realize, hey, that's all I need. But if you think about it, drummers have probably invested in, lessons at some point. Guitarists have bought books or watched videos or spent tons of time on YouTube learning things online or taking lessons themselves. They've invested a bunch of money in their guitar. The keyboardist has invested a bunch of money in their keys. And you as a singer probably haven't invested much. So what I would say is look at that as something that's going to pay dividends down the road. That, yeah, I might upfront end up investing $100 a month in lessons. But once I start actually doing gigs where I'm getting paid to sing, because I finally fixed the high note issue and I can sing the songs that people want to hear, I'm going to start making money from performing. Then it's all worth it. Okay. And as you get into that process, you're going to start learning all the other things that you need to take your singing to the next level. So, over here at voicelessons.com, we know that kind of stuff is a little bit hard. Private lessons can be prohibitively expensive for people. So that's why we've actually started creating online courses. And we have some exciting partnerships. We're going to be bringing some new courses from some other coaches as well. But I'll tell you about the first course that I would recommend if you're really interested in, trying to develop your singing voice and you're not sure if lessons are right for you yet. It's called How the Voice Works. And in How the Voice Works, I actually go through using anatomical models. I use animations. I use sound examples. I give you exercises. I give you a whole exercise pack. I give you guided listening. And by using all of these tools, what you're going to do is finally understand what's inside your instrument, how it functions, what exercises you need to coordinate that function. And then again, as you go through the process, you'll start to realize, oh, I am really struggling with keeping my rib cage buoyant. And so I'm seeking out lessons to figure out a little bit more about my breath management. And then you know exactly what you need because you have the knowledge, right? The knowing how something works will help you make it work, right? So check out that course. It's $47. So it's less than the price of, 2.5-hour lessons with some of our coaches. It's about a third of the price of a lesson with me. So, check it out. I think that can be a really good starting place. And then the other thing that you're going to really want to do when you're getting started is figure out what it even means to sing with style. What kind of onsets and releases do you use? What kind of rhythmic inflections you use, how do you bring a song to life. And so in this course, Singing with Style, I really broke all of that down, created all kinds of worksheets for you, playlists galore, history lessons in there, all kinds of things to help you take your singing to the next level. And that's on sale right now for $97. It's an intense course, but it's going to break down all kinds of storytelling tools, musical tools, rhythmic tools, melodic tools, all kinds of things that you're going to be really hard pressed to find on YouTube. They're coaches, there's secrets that a lot of the top coaches have held on to for a really long time. And I decided to make a course and give the secrets away because I think people need them because they make a big, 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 big difference in your performance. So, also check those out as well. I think they're helpful, and they've all got a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you get in there on the course, it's not what you're looking for, hey, I completely understand. See, I know that everybody learns differently, and I know I may not be the best guide for everyone, and I'm okay with that, but I could be the right guide for you. And so if you check out the course and I'm the right guide, awesome. Now you've got a whole bunch of information. And if you check out the course and you go, this isn't for me, it's okay. No hard feelings. I totally get it. And, you can just request a refund. We'll be happy to give your money back, and happy to take any feedback as well. So again, I'm Dr. Matt Edwards. This is Thursday Night Live. We're here over here at voicelessons.com. I'm on as a guest every week for them. Doing a solo show tonight. I'm usually being hosted by the CEO of voicelessons.com, Mike Elson. Mike's looking forward to returning with me next week. And as we're moving into the fall, we've got some special events and special things to announce soon that we're excited about. So thanks for tuning in on a Thursday night. If you just tuned in late, don't forget these recordings stay archived for a couple months up on our voicelessons.com YouTube page and our Facebook page. So you can go there and check out the rest of tonight's episode as well as some of the past ones and get free answers to your singing questions, because everyone should have access to high quality information about their singing voice so they can take it to the next level and get their voice to do what they want it to do. Because at the end of the day, all any of us are looking for is to communicate the human experience through song. And I am here and excited to be a part of that journey. And I hope I get to help you with yours as well. So good night, everyone.